I was 7 when everything flipped upside down. That was the day Lily, my baby sister, came into the picture. My folks, they just couldn't get enough of her. "Look at that, she's got our nose, our eyes," they'd gush, acting like I was some stranger who accidentally wandered into the photo. I'll never forget the day they brought Lily home from the hospital. The whole house was buzzing like some big shot was coming to visit. And there I was, smack in the middle of it all, just trying to catch a glimpse of this sister everyone was fussing over. But no, the moment they walked in, it was like I turned invisible. "Nellie, sweetie, why don't you go play outside? Let us have some time with Lily," Mom said, with a kind of gentle shove towards the door. Dad was no better, all googly-eyed over Lily, acting like I wasn't there. As time marched on, it was clear who got the VIP treatment. Lily got the works, the newest toys, clothes that weren't picked out of a clearance bin, and even the better slices of cake. Me? I got the leftovers, the hand-me-downs, and the good enoughs. School turned into a nightmare. "Hey, Scarecrow," they'd jeer, poking fun at my out-of-date, out-of-style getup. It stung, you know? I tried, really tried, to tell Mom and Dad how rough it was, hoping maybe, just maybe, they'd see me again. "I'm getting picked on at school. It's the clothes," I managed to spit out one evening. Mom barely glanced up, her hands busy prepping Lily's favorite meal. "Oh, Nellie, you're making mountains out of molehills. Lily's the baby, she needs the best we can give," she said, like that explained everything. Dad wasn't any help either. "You're the big sister, Nellie. You gotta be tough," he'd say, dismissing my feelings like they were nothing. That's how it was. Lily, with her shiny new things, and me, fading more into the background each day. I tried to brush it off, pretend it didn't bother me. But it did. Seeing Lily destroy her brand new toys while I clung to my second-hand ones, it just didn't sit right. Lily was the queen bee of our house, and she knew it too well. Her rule wasn't just about getting the best of everything, it was about making sure I knew my place, which was way below hers, obviously. One afternoon, I came home from school, my spirits a bit higher than usual. I'd actually had a decent day, no one called me names, and I'd aced a math test. But that was about to change. I walked into our room to find Lily with a marker in hand, my math notebook open and scribbled all over. Pages torn, equations smudged into oblivion. "Lily, what the heck are you doing?" I yelled, snatching the notebook from her grasp. She just looked up at me, her eyes wide with faux innocence. "I was just drawing. It looked boring," she retorted, her voice dripping with disdain. "Boring? That was my homework. How am I supposed to turn this in now?" I could feel the anger bubbling up, my brief moment of peace shattered. "Oh, boo-hoo. Just tell the teacher your dog ate it," she sneered, rolling her eyes and hopping off the bed, clearly not done wreaking havoc. Fuming, I gathered the ruined pages, trying to salvage what I could. It was then that Mom walked in, her eyes immediately drawn to the mess. "What happened here?" she asked, her tone already accusing me. "Lily destroyed my math homework with her art," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, despite the injustice burning inside me. Mom turned to Lily, who by now had perfected her me look. "I didn't mean to. I was just playing," she said, the picture of innocence. And just like that, I knew I was the one who'd end up in trouble. "Nellie, can't you see she didn't do it on purpose? You're older, you should understand," Mom chided, her words a slap in the face. The days turned into a never-ending loop of Lily's cruelties. She'd ruin my stuff, play the victim, and I'd get the heat. Clothes, books, even my few cherished items from Grandma, nothing was safe. One day, I caught her red-handed, pouring paint over my school project. "Lily, that's my project. Why?" I shouted, grabbing the paint bottle from her. "It's funny. You should have seen your face," she laughed, her enjoyment of my misery clear as day. That was it. I'd had enough. "You're such a brat," I yelled, the words out before I could stop them. Her laughter stopped, and she stared at me, shocked that I'd finally retaliated. But then, as predictable as the sunrise, her eyes filled with tears, and she ran out of the room, wailing like I'd struck her. Mom was on us in seconds, her face a mix of concern for Lily and anger towards me. "What did you do to your sister?" she demanded, her hands on her hips. "She ruined my project, and I called her out on it." I protested, knowing it was futile. "Lily's just a child, Nellie. You're the adult here. Apologize to your sister," Mom ordered, her voice leaving no room for arguments. Apologize? For what? Standing up for myself? The unfairness of it all was suffocating. But I knew arguing would only make things worse. So I swallowed the lump in my throat, nodded, and went to find Lily. In the midst of all the chaos at home, I found my escape in books. Grandma had this old bookshelf in her living room, crammed with every story you could imagine. From the first time she showed it to me, I was hooked. It was like stepping into another world, one where I wasn't just the overlooked older sister. "Nellie, try this one," Grandma would say, handing me a thick novel with a worn-out cover. "It'll take you on a grand adventure." I'd sit there, curled up on her couch, diving headfirst into tales of distant lands and daring heroes. For a few hours, I could forget about Lily and the constant comparisons at home. One day, Grandma caught me reading instead of doing my homework. "Nellie, you know you've got responsibilities," she chided, but her eyes twinkled with understanding. "Yeah, I know. But these stories, Grandma, they make me feel different. Like I'm not just me." I tried to explain, struggling to put into words how much those books meant to me. Grandma sat down next to me, her arm wrapping around my shoulders. "Books are special, Nellie. They're friends who never let you down. But remember, the real world is out there too. You've got to find your place in it." Back at home, Lily noticed my growing obsession with reading. "Why do you always have your nose in a book? It's so boring," she'd scoff, her disdain for anything that didn't revolve around her clear as day. "It's better than dealing with you," I'd snap back, immediately regretting letting her get to me. "Whatever, nerd. Enjoy your stupid books," Lily would retort, flouncing off to report my rude behavior to Mom and Dad. Mom didn't get it either. "Nellie, why don't you spend more time with your sister instead of reading all day? You're setting a bad example." How was I setting a bad example? By trying to find some peace? It was like they were speaking a different language, one where logic and understanding were foreign concepts. "Because she doesn't get it, Mom. She doesn't get me. No one here does," I said once, my frustration boiling over. "All this reading's making you moody. Maybe you should take a break," Mom suggested, completely missing the point. A break? From the one thing that made me happy? No way. Those books were my lifeline, transporting me from a home where I felt invisible to places where anything was possible. I wasn't about to give that up. Evenings at Grandma's became my sanctuary. She never judged, never told me I was reading too much or wasting my time. Instead, she'd just smile and pass me another book. "You're a lot like me, Nellie. A dreamer. And that's a good thing." "Thanks, Grandma. It's just hard. At home, I mean," I admitted, the words spilling out before I could stop them. "I know, dear. But remember, the people in those stories you love? They face challenges, they struggle, but they never give up. You've got that same spirit in you." Those books and the time with Grandma, they were like a lifeline for me. But everything took a hit when I turned 17. Grandma passed away. It felt like losing my anchor in a stormy sea. My parents, though, they barely batted an eye. All they saw was an opportunity to dig through her stuff, like vultures circling for a meal. "I can't believe she had all this old junk. What are we even going to do with it?" Mom said, rifling through Grandma's things with a dismissive air. Dad was no better, eyes lighting up at the thought of what could be sold. "There's gotta be something valuable here. People pay good money for antiques," he mused, completely ignoring the sentimental value of Grandma's possessions. Then came the moment they found Grandma's library, my sanctuary. Those shelves held more than books, they held memories, lessons, and love. But to my parents, it was just another space taker. We should just toss these out. Clear up some space, Dad said, ready to condemn my world to a trash bin. Panic surged through me at the thought. No. Please, can I have them? If you don't want them, I'll take them, I blurted out, desperation making my voice louder than I intended. Mom and Dad exchanged looks, eyebrows raised, as if the idea was ludicrous. You want these old things? What for? You've got enough junk, Mom said, her voice laced with skepticism. They're not junk. They were Grandma's, please, I begged, the thought of losing those books like losing a part of me. Dad snorted, a sound of disbelief and annoyance. Fine, take them. It's less for us to deal with, he conceded, clearly uninterested in the emotional value the books held for me. Graduation day hit me with a mix of excitement and dread. I knew my folks didn't have the cash to send me off to college. I was gearing up to hit the job hunt hard, save up every penny for tuition. But then, out of the blue, Mom and Dad offered to foot the bill for my studies. We'll pay for your college, Dad announced one evening, like it was no big deal. I was floored. Maybe they did care, deep down. Maybe they saw how hard I worked, how much I wanted this. Packing my bags, stuffing them with my worn-out clothes and those precious books from Grandma, I felt a flicker of hope. Off to college to become an accountant, I was determined to make them proud. Living on campus was a game-changer. I hit the books and the part-time job circuit with everything I had. My roommates threw around jokes, calling me Cinderella for how I juggled studying and working. You're gonna miss your youth, buried in those books and work, they'd laugh. But I didn't mind, I had my eye on the prize. Then, the bomb dropped. Mom called one day, her voice all business. It's great you found a job, but don't forget, you owe us half your paycheck every month. I nearly dropped the phone. What? But I'm barely covering my expenses here. I thought the deal was just for tuition. That was the deal. Tuition in exchange for you paying us back. You're working now, so start sending the money, she snapped, her tone ice cold. I tried to argue, to explain how tight things were already, but it was like talking to a brick wall. We paid for your ticket out of here. You owe us, period, was her final word on the matter. So, I started sending them half my earnings. Every paycheck felt like a punch in the gut, a reminder that my hard work wasn't really mine. My roommates noticed the change, saw how every call home left me stressed and angry. Cinderella's turned into a debtor, huh? They'd say, trying to lighten the mood. But it wasn't funny. Not really. I felt trapped, like I was caught in a cycle I couldn't break free from. Studying, working, then handing over half of what I made. It was a brutal wake-up call. My parents' generosity was just another chain, another way to keep me tied to them, indebted and under control. Years rolled by, and I clawed my way up to become an accountant at a big company. The pay was nothing to brag about at first, but it was mine, and it fueled dreams of getting my own place, a tiny apartment where the only rules were the ones I made. Then came the family dinner, thrown in my honor for finishing college. That's where the dream got punched in the gut. Over plates of cold lasagna, Mom and Dad laid it on me thick. You need to keep giving us half your salary, Dad said, not a hint of thanks in his voice. I choked on my food, stunned. What? Still? I thought that was just for college. Mom's look could freeze lava. You owe us, for your education. You think that was free? Their words hit like a slap. There I was, dreaming of freedom, and they were tightening the chains. I had no choice but to stay put, handing over half my earnings, living in a room that felt more like a cell. With their hands out and jobs now just part-time, my folks settled into a comfy routine of TV binges, while I slaved away. Coming home meant stepping into a house where even a cooked meal was too much to ask for. Lily, oh, she turned the entitlement up to 11. Hey, I need money for a new phone. Mine's practically ancient, she'd say, her hand outstretched, a smirk playing on her lips. She knew I was strapped, but that didn't stop her. Dressing in second-hand clothes became the norm, my wardrobe a decade behind, earning whispers and side-eyes at work. I was the living, breathing definition of budget fashion, if you can call it fashion. Fast forward a few years, my salary finally hit $4,000. Sounds like a win, right? Wrong. Half went straight to my parents, and Lily, ever the leech, siphoned off another grand for her essentials. Makeup, clothes, you name it, she had to have it, and somehow, it was on my dime. I was stuck, a cash cow for a family that saw me more as a wallet than a daughter. Just need a bit more for a night out with the girls, Lily would chirp, as if I was made of money. You do realize I work for my money, right? It's not like I'm swimming in it. I'd snap back, tired of the constant drain. Mom would always jump to her defense. She's young, let her enjoy life. You're always so stingy. Stingy? With what, the pennies I was left with? Every day felt like a battle, coming home to demands and complaints, my own needs always last on the list. Turning 30 should have felt like a milestone, a reason to celebrate or at least acknowledge I've survived 3 decades. But as fate would have it, my big day slipped by unnoticed by those who were supposed to be my nearest and dearest, my parents and Lily. I walked into the house that evening, half expecting a surprise, maybe a small cake or a happy birthday tossed my way. Instead, I found nothing but the usual indifference. Hey, you guys remember what day it is? I ventured, hoping for a flicker of recognition. Mom looked up, puzzled, then shrugged. Thursday? No, it's my birthday, I said, a mix of disappointment and anger simmering within me. Oh, right. Well, happy birthday then. Why don't you order us some pizza to celebrate? Your treat, Dad said without missing a beat, already scrolling through his phone for the pizza place's number. Without a word, I turned and retreated to my room, locking the door behind me. The sound of their laughter and the casual way they dismissed me echoed in my mind. This was the final straw. It was clear as day now, nothing was going to change unless I made it happen. It was just another night, counting the cost of dreams deferred, when my phone buzzed. Aunt Maggie, Mom's sister, rarely called, so seeing her name light up the screen was a jolt. Hey, Aunt Maggie, I answered, trying to mask the exhaustion in my voice. Happy birthday, love. I was thinking about you. Did your folks do something nice for you? Her voice was warm, a contrast to the chill I felt at home. I laughed, hollow. Nice? You could say it's been just another day. There was a pause, heavy with unspoken words. Listen, dear, I've been meaning to tell you something. It's about your grandma's contribution to your college fund. I sat up straighter, confusion threading through my curiosity. What contribution? Mom and Dad paid for college. They remind me every chance they get. Aunt Maggie sighed, a sound laden with regret. No, love. It was your grandma. She set aside a fund for you, made your parents promise to use it for your education. They never spent a dime of their own money on your tuition. The room spun. They, what? But they've been taking my money, saying I owe them for college. It's the truth. I thought you knew. I'm so sorry, Nellie. I hung up, my mind racing. The betrayal stung, burning away the fog of years of manipulation. It wasn't just about the money, it was the principle, the years of control, of making me feel less than, all based on a lie. I walked out to confront them, Mom, Dad, and Lily, all there, celebrating as if they hadn't just forgotten my birthday, as if they hadn't been lying to me all my life. I know about the lie. I blurted out, my voice steady, despite the emotions raging inside. Grandma paid for my college, not you. Their laughter cut off abruptly, replaced by a stunned silence, before Mom tried to brush it off. What nonsense. Sit down, let's eat. You're overreacting as usual. Dad, with that smug look of his, chimed in. Yeah, and don't forget to pay for this feast. It's your treat, remember? That's when I dropped the bomb. I'm done. I'm leaving. You've lied and used me for the last time. Their smirks faded. Dad's eyes widened, and Mom's face went pale. You can't be serious, she stammered. After everything we've done for you? I was firm. Exactly, because of everything you've done. I'm out. Lily snorted, her usual mocking self. Where will you go? You can barely afford to dress yourself. I ignored her jab. I'll figure it out. I'd rather struggle on my own than continue living like this. Dad finally set his phone down, his expression serious for once. You think you can just walk away from your responsibilities here? My only responsibility is to myself, I countered. I've done enough for this family, more than enough. It's time I start living for me. Mom's face hardened. If you walk out that door, don't think of coming back. Packing was a blur. I took what mattered most, Grandma's books, a few clothes. Everything else, all the trappings of a life filled with deceit, I left behind. I found a place, small but mine, a little apartment that felt more like home than any house I'd ever lived in. The shock of realizing I could actually afford to live on my own, without scrimping or saving every penny for them, was liberating. For the first time I could breathe, really breathe, without the weight of their expectations and manipulations crushing me. A month went by in a blissful, peaceful haze. Then the calls started. Mom, Dad, even Lily, all suddenly remembering my number, their voices dripping with false sweetness and desperate pleas. We need help, they'd say. We can't make ends meet without your help. I couldn't help but laugh. The audacity, after years of taking and taking, to ask for more. This time I was ready. I blocked their numbers, cutting off the last tie to a past I no longer wanted any part of. Life in my new apartment was like breathing fresh air after being underwater for too long. I filled it with plants, cozy cushions, and, of course, Grandma's books took pride of place on the shelves. My first morning there, I remember making coffee and just sitting on the floor, surrounded by boxes, feeling an overwhelming sense of peace. It wasn't long before I had to dive into work, and that's where I really started to see the changes in me. I wasn't just more confident, I felt empowered, like I could tackle any challenge thrown my way. My colleagues noticed too. Nellie, you've been on fire lately, Jenna, a close colleague, commented as we grabbed lunch one day. I smiled, stirring my coffee. Feels like I've finally woken up, you know? Yeah, I do. It's awesome to see. You're, like, a whole new person. That whole new person vibe wasn't just in my professional life. For the first time, I started to invest in myself too. I picked up hobbies that I'd always wanted to try but never had the time or energy for, thanks to my previous family obligations. I started painting, something I hadn't done since I was a kid, and joined a local hiking group. Life felt full, vibrant, and entirely mine. Aunt Maggie became my rock during this time. Her support was unwavering, and she was always just a call away, ready to listen or offer advice. One evening, she invited me over for dinner, something that had become a monthly tradition for us. As we sat down to eat, she broached a subject I hadn't expected. Nellie, I've been thinking. You've done so well for yourself, really turned your life around. How would you feel about inheriting my house? I wanted to go to someone who loves it as much as I do, and I can't think of anyone better than you. I almost choked on my water. Aunt Maggie, that's incredibly generous, but I can't accept that. Why not? She asked, her eyes twinkling. Think of it as a family legacy, passing from one generation to the next. You deserve it, Nellie. We went back and forth, but Aunt Maggie was insistent. By the end of the night, I was overwhelmed by her generosity and what it meant for my future. It was a testament to how far I'd come, from being the family's forgotten provider to being recognized and valued for who I was. Reflecting on my journey, I realized that breaking free from my family's toxic dynamics was the best decision I'd ever made. It wasn't just about gaining financial independence or escaping their constant demands, it was about finding myself, discovering my worth outside of their valuation. Life now was a testament to the power of change, of making hard choices for the sake of one's own happiness and well-being. I had learned that sometimes, the family you create is just as important as the one you're born into. And sometimes, to find your true place in the world, you have to be willing to leave behind everything you thought you knew.